Filter on, filter on. Good morning, children of God.
Good morning.
So how many of you had snow on you the way this morning? A little bit, yeah. Just a little tiny bit. If you looked out the window right now, you'd see blue sky. You may hear it rain in a minute. But if it gets too hot, just having one of those kind of days, isn't it? Which, the funny thing to me is, thinking about all of that came this. This is the most important moment in your life. You can have no other. You can live no other. Right here, right now. Isn't that fun? So whether it snowed or rained or blue sky or all of the above, we're right here and right now. Speaking of right here and right now, let's take a moment and acknowledge the presence of our loving Father, Mother, God, as we join together in prayer. O loving Father, Mother, God, we thank you this day for your presence moving in and through us. With each breath we take, we are joy-filled, wonder-filled. This day we ask for your guidance and for your direction. And this day we choose to be open and receptive and responsive to your instruction and to your guidance. This day we are grateful for the opportunity to come together, to worship, to sing, and to pray in the name, in the nature, in the power of the Christ. Amen.
The daily word will be read by Anna.
I am a child of God, worthy, wise, healthy, and whole. I am is a name for my divine inheritance, and I have COPD, so I get breathless. Okay. And spiritual identity as a child of God. It is my indwelling love, life, wisdom, my spiritual essence. My spiritual self is aware of and one with spirit. My human self can be influenced by personal will and tempted to go it alone, as if to drift at sea with no compass. Prayer and meditation keep me centered. I use affirmations as helpful navigation tools to remind me of my true I am potential. I choose positive I am statements that encourage me and are congruent with my spiritual identity. In faith, I affirm I am a child of God, worthy, wise, healthy, and whole. But Moses said to God, if I come to the Israelites and say to them, the God of your ancestors has sent me to you, and they ask me, what is his name? What shall I say to them? And God said to Moses, I am who I am. Thank you, Rob.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. See, we're going to stand okay, we're going to remain seated as we sing Strength of My Life.
One of the challenges that we have with our music is that it's hard to put all the places where you follow the notes. So we have the words. Sometimes we put little hyphens in there, and that gives you a clue. Yeah, we need a little dot, karaoke. Okay, on our list of things to do, does the word not come to mind? No, I don't. It's okay. Steve, filter on. Today has been just a day of wonder already, and because we have example after example of when things come to fruition, when you just take time to allow God to work through you. Now, you may have not noted, but I'm going to point it out to you, that the little thermometer for the back door isn't there anymore. And the reason it's not there is because it's totally paid for. Now, that was a lot of activity by a lot of the groups who are here, as well as our church family, but it's been an ongoing project for a long time. We got the door done before we had all the funding, and just said, we know who's in charge. God is in charge. And today, literally today, we got the last of it, put it over the hump. So that's taken care of. So now we can go to the karaoke machine as the next. No. We have other things that we're going to work on. I'm just guessing that the karaoke machine's not way high on the list, although it could be. But it's that kind of thing, and I want to invite you. We're going to be getting into prayer and meditation here in a minute. I just want to share with you. I've shared with you before, but I'm going to ask you to help and work with me. There have been times when, as I looked from here, there was standing room only in this room. Now, it doesn't happen all the time. However, it would be nice if it did. So, what I'm going to invite you to do before we go into prayer meditation is either hold the vision or, when you have the opportunity, do this. It's so much fun. It goes like this: 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60, 65, 70, 75, 80, 85, 90, and standing room only to 100. Now, I hold that vision every day. I come in at least once a day, generally 3 or 4 times a day, and hold that vision. Why? Because I see my world in such need of what we have to offer. It's one of the reasons that over the course of January and February we spent so much time in healing, because there are so many modalities for healing. We're not talking just about the physical healing of the body temple, but the healing of our world. And we can do it one step at a time. It took a long time to get to where we are, and it's going to take us one step at a time to move to where we say we want to be. People who are watching can't hear that at all. Somebody's cell phone just said hello. It's okay. Filter back on, filter back on. But we began on Wednesday with this season of Lent. Now, I explained it Wednesday in great detail. I'm just going to cover it real briefly here today. Lent is not a biblically based event. It was created by and for the church. But it's based on good premise. It's the 40 days before the last days of the Christ, plus, for those of you who are mathematicians, plus the 6 Sundays involved. I have no idea why they did it that way. The 40 days makes sense because that represents a foundation to completion. That's what 40 days is all about. Or the 40 years wandered through the desert, or 40 anythings, okay? And each of the Sundays has a special theme to it. And today is the altar. And we're going to talk about that one. And what comes to mind as I work through this season is the more often that I state with power and authority who I am. Just the same way when Moses said, "Who shall I say? I am who I am." And it's why we spend so much time with watching what comes after your I am. I am one with. My loving Father, Mother God. I know God is all, both visible and invisible. This one that is all is perfect life, love, intelligence, and substance. Man is, therefore I am and you are, one with this perfect life, love, intelligence, and substance. This day, as I move into that place within me that Jesus called our inner closet, it is a secret place. It is that place within you where there is no question and there is no doubt. As I enter in this day, I follow his instructions. As you enter in, close the door. Close the door on those thoughts and feelings of what I should have done. Close the door on those thoughts and feelings of what I have yet to do this day. And I pray, knowing that my Father will reward me openly. In my prayers, I learn to ask. Perhaps for healing of your body temple. Perhaps for order in your daily life. Perhaps for peace in our world. Regardless of what your prayer might be this day, know that here in the silence, answers come. Divine ideas emerge. And you get to choose. Choose this day to say yes to these ideas that come to you. It can be in the form of a word, thought, an action to take. Regardless of how it comes to you, know it comes to you wrapped in love. And so this day say yes, reach out, accept these gifts, and immerse yourself in them. As I do, each and every cell of my being responds, from the top of my head to the tips of my toes. Life flows. Peace flows. And gratitude swells up from within and overflows. It is from this awareness that I remember I'm a channel through which good flows into my world. Right now, I open that channel wide. From me, through me, good flows. First into this room, touching, healing, blessing, joining with other thought of like mind, growing in strength and in power, moving into our spiritual community, wherever that might be this day. For those who have asked for prayer, know we are with you. That which you seek is already seeking you. From me, through me, good flows into our city, across our state, across our country, touching, healing, blessing, lifting up. From me, through me, good flows around my world, throughout my universe. As I feel this flow from me, through me, I hear the voice. In spirit and in truth, we are never separate one from the other. In this knowing, somewhere, somewhen, someone is saying thank you for that which has come from you, through you, this day is gratefully received. And that gratitude swells up and returns to you. The circle of life, whole and complete. I rest in it. I live in it. For one holy moment. Knowing there is more yet for me to do this day, holding to this experience we have shared, gently now and easily, we bring our attention back to this now, to this place. And from our heart, we join together and pray as Jesus, our elder brother, has taught us when he said, "As for you, pray therefore in this manner." it's so much fun for me when people validate what I know to be true about this place. And what I mean by that is, with the healing class that we've been going through, we have had some teacher healers come in and share their particular modality with us. And last week, as that class concluded, we're winding up and getting things all put together. They came in, the teacher and her friend from Mount Shasta came in and stood right there. And looked right there and said, "That is a beautiful, sacred space that you created. You do that because you bring you to this room, to this place." And from Laura and Anna and Terry and Kat and others who move the flowers around, and Sharon who helps me keep the candles straight, we create a space. Right? It is a sacred space. It is also a fun place, joy-filled, and that comes through too. And just about every time an instructor comes through in whatever modality, within the structure of whatever we're learning that day, there will come a time where joy, laughter just bursts forth. Because that's a part of who we are. And it's just fascinating to me that the more I take the time just to open to that and allow that presence to work in and through me, that collectively we create a space that we have right here, right now, the ability to go like this and just blow it up. What I mean by blow it up, it being love. We can just take love, go with so much force as to change our world. Now, we don't believe that most of the time. Most of the time. But it's really kind of fun when you can. Because it literally changes your world. And it allows for others to participate in this exploration of the expression of love in our world in a new way. Now, when I say in a new way, we've been at it 2,000 years. So how new is that? Well, only new in how you look at the overall picture. You know, every time when somebody says to me, I got the idea, but I just feel like I should get it better. I say to him or her, as the case may be, have you read Scripture at all? They kind of give me that look. Well, yeah. I said, you understand that even those who lived with Jesus lost it? Didn't get it right up to and through the crucifixion? And we'll talk about that later in the month. Jesus who? Right? They didn't get it either. It's okay. 2,000 years later, we're still trying to work on the materials that he gave us that are so important for us to live in a different way, to actually express our oneness, to express life with a capital L, to breathe it. And part of that process is what we're talking about today a little bit, and that is, I need a fixed place in consciousness to pray. Aha! You have now heard the definition of the word altar. It's a fixed place. And it's not just this in this room, although this is cool. But it is that place within me where the same thing is true. I have a place. Let me ask this question this way. How many of you in your home have an altar of one kind or another? Good. Hopefully every hand should be up. If it's not, feel free to raise it later. Like next week. But see, I want to add this preface when I say it's a fixed place in consciousness with which to pray. We have an altar in our house that is in no way, in my mind, a religious altar. But it's an altar nonetheless. Why? It's a fixed place that has upon it those things that lead me to hold in prayer those thoughts and feelings that lead me on my path. They're pictures of people who are in my heart all the time. All the time. Now, it's not just there, but when I find that place, that's where my head goes. And I have discovered over time that that's an important thing for me to have in my life, a place of prayer. My altar, where I discover that I can move quickly from all the activities of my day, boom, to center. I breathe, I focus, I go into my prayer work, and perhaps the most important thing for me then to learn next is then I listen. And then I allow God to work through me. And I set aside those things which seem to be obstacles for me to learn to express my truth. And we've often heard the statement that when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. The opposite is also true, by the way. And this is true of any law. If it's true one way, it's also true in the opposite. The opposite being that when the teacher is ready, the student will appear. Works both ways. And I mentioned a little bit earlier, that which you seek is already seeking you. I love that statement. That which you seek is already seeking you. Question mark. What are you seeking? Well, welcome to Lent. Let's play a little, right? Okay. Lent was created as a time of fasting because we want to fast not so much from eating, and especially not today. Now, for those of you who are fasting, feel free to do so. I will help you. Just saying. But if you're not fasting, potluck will be after service today. But fasting isn't just about food, because that's the outer symbol. Fasting is about not eating, not taking in those things which are contrary to who you are. Taking a break from my world. My world meaning that out here coming this way as I look at it. So I need to fast from that so that I can breathe and see through whatever experience is coming up. And to understand that as large a challenge may appear in my life, as large as that challenge may be for me, on the scale of things, not that big. See, I have my Goliaths. We all do, right? But I've learned that my Goliath is defeatable. I have a story that says so, right? And I have teachers who said, have you looked beyond that story? Because it's not just about Goliath, it's looking past the challenge for the reward that comes with it. And that's in that story too. But to get there, I have to take in the information, and then that's where I go to that fixed place within me to center, to pray, and say, okay, what's next for me? What's next for me? What's the next step do I need to take? What am I holding on to that I'm prepared to let go of? Just let it go and see something else. One of the pieces I'm working on continually, but been spending more time of late, is this whole notion of lack and limitation. There are so many things in my world that says lack and limitation. But I heard something today and I went, see, when you need an answer, it shows up. Melissa Gates, is the wife of Bill Gates, was on a program this morning, and they were talking about the infant mortality rate has dropped over 50% in the last 10 years. In other words, in the whole wide world, it's dropped 50%. But the number is still ridiculously high of the little ones we lose in their first day of life, not to mention their first year of life. By reaching out to our world in a different way, we're getting information across that we didn't have before. Learning how to handle malaria. One of the statements she made was really kind of interesting. Last year, there were only 37 reported cases of polio in the world. Next year, none. That's what she said. I went, okay, I'm with that, right? Look at how far we've come just in the last few years, right? But it comes into realizing that we have the ability and the capability to reach out beyond where we are in thought, in support, to change our world. Sometimes we see, I don't see the problem, but somebody else says, oh, this is a problem. I went, oh, okay. And when that shows up, then there's also people who are working on the problem. Why? Every challenge that shows up is there on purpose so that you and I collectively, individually and collectively, can move past whatever limiting stuff shows up in our world. That's why prayer is so important. That's how I can look at this interesting time in which I live. Did I say that just right? And not drive myself nuts. I can look at it, just don't get crazy. I just go, okay. Breathe. And I do that a lot. Right? Take the next step. Don't get nuts. Do what you need to do, Rob. Don't try and do somebody, this is a big one, by the way. Don't try and do somebody else's work for them. If they would only do this, their finger would hurt. How do I know? Because that hurt my finger. And they aren't listening half the time. And even if they do, they are going to go, next. Maybe. And in the meantime, I'm all like this. That's why my altar is so important. So that when I start to get caught up in it, and it's so easy to do because it's all around me, that's when I just take time out, breathe, and go, wait a minute. Here's the truth. Even if I can't see it, regardless of circumstance, I am there. God is there. That's when I can go, I know what I need to do next. Right then and there. And I invite you to play with me as we do this. I take a picture of this body temple as it exists right here, right now, warts and all. Beliefs and all that may or may not be true, but it's what I'm holding on to. And to that picture, that whole, I say this: I love you. Take your picture together. I love you. To that picture, I bless you. Together. I bless you. To that picture, I appreciate you. Together. I appreciate you. And then I expand the thought to this picture and every other picture of one of God's children. In this moment, I behold the Christ. Together. I behold the Christ. Our world just shifted. Thank you.
Thank you for listening. Please feel free to pass this message along to your friends and family. You can obtain additional audio tapes or CDs by visiting our website or by calling our office at 541-772-6902. We invite you to join us in prayer. We know that prayer works, and now you can send your prayer request to our prayer team here at Christ Unity Church by using the form on our website. The activities, programs, and services of this ministry are presented on a love offering basis. All gifts, regardless of size, are gratefully accepted. You may participate either by sending your gift to Christ Unity Church, 540 North Holly Street, Medford, Oregon, 97501, or by visiting us on the internet at www.unitymedford.org.